Let's talk about cell phones in Christian schools and generally just in schools around the country for a second time.
The Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. But bear in mind, the views and opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation.
Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. Today, blue-collar drywall hanger. I had to pause my work outside in my garage renovation to a family room.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you
Come
for
in here.
taking your time to come and get away from the drywall and help support us educators.
You don't get away from drywall. Drywall sticks with you, kind of like insulation.
I'm touching it right now, actually.
Yeah, it's all around us.
It's firmly connected, but
I'm a blue-collar man today. I was texting my friend who actually, he does actual blue-collar farm work. And I said to him, you'd be proud of me today. I was my other friend who was, you used to be, I understand. I guess you never really leave. The dirt stays on those fingernails for a long time. Yeah. But I was telling him that yesterday I was mortar man. Yesterday I was a mason. All day I was bricklaying and block laying.
Right. Were you masoning for free?
No, not the Freemason. I had no conspiracy theory take over the town. Cool temple sort of work going on. You think they'll find us if we say that? Do you think they'll come and get us?
Let's bring it on. I'm really I want to know.
I want to know what happens.
I want to know the answers.
All right. Well, today we're talking about the non-blue collar, the cell phones again, and we had it on the list to talk about now for some time, but over and over again in recent weeks, we have seen state legislators come out, governors come out with just blanket, and that's it. The phone's done.
Yeah.
We're done. We're not doing phones in schools no more. Ain't gonna do that no more.
That's what they say.
That's what I say. I'm feeling it today. I just tell you. But I guess before we get into this, let's hear from the Herzog Foundation with one of your updated promos.
This episode is sponsored by the Herzog Foundation, a powerful partner in equipping Christian school leaders like you. If you're looking to sharpen your leadership and renew your vision, don't miss the Herzog Foundation Institute, a multi-day in-person training experience for Christian school principals and administrators. Held at their state-of-the-art facility in Missouri, as well as all over the country, each cohort dives deep into leadership development, school culture, and mission clarity, all through a biblical lens. You'll grow alongside fellow leaders who understand the challenges and calling of Christian education. And here's the best part. The training, lodging, and meals are completely free. All you have to do is get yourself there. Visit herzogfoundation.com to see upcoming sessions and apply today. It's not just leadership training, it's kingdom work. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you.
That was a great promo. Wow.
Oh, man.
So good.
The sultry sounds of Matt's baritone voice. La, 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 la. Matt,
all right.
Cell phones. Have you changed your stance on cell phones? As you rewrite your handbook in the summertime, have you addressed cell phones / screens? Because it's bigger than just phones.
Well, and yeah, that's the conversation I think is where we're going to be heading. Yeah, it does go beyond the phone. My school's policy, however, on phones is still intact. They can't use it, and they can't have it.
You're done.
So yeah, it's the same. Like everybody's getting caught up with me.
Everybody's chasing after Matt. We said this in the previous episode we did on cell phones. I should actually look that up and see which episode that was. Actually, Matt, you can do why I'm yapping over here.
Yeah, but you yap.
In the previous time, I also mentioned that there was strong kickback concerning a policy that was on the books with cell phones, which simply was students wouldn't have cell phones out. And there was strong kickback concerning that. And I never felt the need to waver from a support of that. It was episode 40.
4. Episode
Man,
4.
It's over 100 episodes ago. Check it out. I mean, a blast from the past. But it still holds. this makes sense. We said in the pre-show that we have seen now cell phones in our lifetime, as old as we are. We've seen cell phones come into school. We've seen them become used in school. Students, the whole generation coming in with them attached to their hands. And now we are seeing them even from, and again, this is not right wing. This is not just conservatives doing this. These are statewide issues now, coming from teachers teachers unions are not usually the most conservative of the different assemblies out there. This is an across the board. We got to stop this. And so we're going to stop this way. So this is bipartisan, we could say, in many ways. As little as could be said about bipartisan things nowadays. But it's something that we have simply seen come full circle. And maybe your school never had that come full circle because you just had the simple, you're not going to have these phones. We're not going to have these devices on us. But we're also starting to hear rumblings of it's going to go further than cell phones. And that's also very interesting. So we have some notes to present to you today, some thoughts to present to you. But Matt, where do you want to start at today?
I mean, just the update on what I was looking into was not just the embracing of the total ban on cell phones, but even how is it enforced? This is always going to be a new thing, but even within the public schools, what does enforcement look like? I know even for us, where we've had a no students are to have cell phones, a phone goes off in the locker or a phone goes off in the book bag. And we're like, I'm not supposed to have that, and it's not the easiest thing to enforce. So whenever you've got a lot more students and a lot more teenagers that are very, not just attached to the cell phones, because understand, it's beyond just the desire to be in communication with people. It's now like they're maintaining businesses. They're, with YouTube and all kinds of social media, like they're trying to be productive in some ways, and their cell phone is a massive part of that. So, what does the enforcement look like was something else I was looking into. But yeah, we're looking at a variety of both the ban for the whole day. You can't have it whatsoever. No time. You come in, turn it in, you leave, you pick it up when you leave. Versus you can use it at designated times throughout the day and those kind of things.
Absolutely. I want to go back to a quick point we made about the bipartisanship of this effort. And this is in a May 21st article by PBS, which might be defunded soon, or at least in some ways defunded. We'll see how that happens. But it states, a majority of the U.S. states now have laws banning or regulating cell phone use in school. And it makes 2 points quickly. Bills have sprinted through legislatures this year in states as varied as New York and Oklahoma. So there you go. Broad consensus. Phones are bad for kids. Connecticut State Rep Jennifer Leeper, a Democrat and co-chair of the General Assembly's Education Committee, on May 13th called phones, quote, a cancer on our kids, quote, they're driving isolation, loneliness, decreasing attention, having major impacts both on the social, emotional well-being, but also learning. Republicans also say something similar. This is not just an academic bill. Republican Scott Hilton said after Georgia's bill, which only bans schools in K through 8, passed in March, this is a mental health bill. It is a public safety bill. So let's get into what we were able to ask Microsoft Copilot about. I'll say it. I didn't actually go line by line and dig up a news article.
Clearly, we're not anti-technology. Let's just be clear on that point. We're not anti-technology.
Rules for thee, but not for me. Rules for thee, but not for me. Absolutely. Dear. So as of July 2025, there are 27 states and Washington, D.C. that in some part have a ban or a restriction on what their cell phones or what cell phones can look like in their schools. Okay, so the nomenclature bell-to-bell ban or a full-day ban. Here are the states, I'll read these quickly, that prohibit phones from the start of the day to the end of the school day, including lunch and hallway and transitions. Now, Matt, just really fast, in your school, is it bell-to-bell? Is it you step a foot in the door, you drop it in a box? Like, what does it look like in your school?
That is correct. Yep, step a foot in the door, drop it in the box. Box goes to the office, and that's where they stay until it's time to leave. And even then, it's not, oh, there was the bell for dismissal. Now I can go get my phone. It's Now I've been called to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm leaving, I pick up my phone. Now, there are times, I will say, that teachers know that should they be working on an experiment or something like that, that cell phones taking pictures or something would be helpful. Students are allowed to be granted permission to go and retrieve their phones, but they're supervised during that time, and then they're putting it right back. Other times, I would say, like field trips or things where we're off campus, there is a lot more of this idea of you may have your phones, but the second that you're seen using it inappropriately, it can be taken away.
And just to further the same thought concerning their usage in school, you would tell me that is a 1% time. That's not that's
very
not
small.
the 50%. Yeah, that's the
Yep.
1% time of usage in the school day. I did come across an issue of, in the higher math class, we need these in order to facilitate equations that we don't have scientific calculators for, and we want to stay affordable, so we don't want to include scientific calculator demands on our parents. And I appreciated that, and so there was a time at which I felt, okay, I'll take the phones, have the phones here. The issues were otherwise, because the issues were in actually getting the phones back where they should be after that class. And you don't need them the whole class, you just need them for the 5 minutes you're doing those literally 3 problems or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm buying you those calculators on the school's dime because we need to have our own to facilitate this. So I would say, even in those situations, I would hope the school had the wherewithal and the understanding and the ability to go out and purchase what was needed to make those
That's
possible.
The cell phones
needed.
don't have to be the solution to that problem. I mean, we have Chromebooks, we have other things that are more easily managed.
Sure.
Or like you said, just go out and buy the calculators.
Yeah. So maybe there's a transition time. Maybe, and for you, maybe it's, hey, I want you to take a picture and send this to your parents, because I know this would mean a lot to your parents. This would mean a lot to you. Or I want to take a picture and send it to your phone, so you have to send it, or maybe there's opportunities like that. But the point being made, far and away, they're the slightest. They're the less, not the most. So, okay, so we're talking about these bell-to-bell bands, and you have a bell-to-bell band in your school. Previously, it was in the school, or it was in a book bag, was also acceptable in one of my iterations. So, these states prohibit phones from the start to the end of the school day, including lunch and hallway transitions. So it's not just instruction time. And this is a big deal, and we'll hit this again. We hit this a little bit in the first episode. We'll talk about it again soon. But these are Florida, Indiana, Louisiana, South Carolina, New York, Texas, Virginia, Alabama, Ohio, North Carolina, Vermont, Missouri, pending, Nebraska, West Virginia, Kentucky, Utah, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Nevada, Iowa, and Georgia. But K through 8 for Georgia. That's the only exception there. Typical exceptions to these include emergencies, health needs, and IEP accommodations, where the accommodations, like we were talking about with calculators, may not be available. Now, this comes from Campus Safety, Newsweek, and Ballotpedia. Just so you know, that's where the sources are for this research on the bell-to-bell bands, if we missed one or something like that. But these are a bunch of different schools. There's Vermont here, and there's Alabama here, okay? These are not just one color schools, so to speak. There's West Virginia, and there's Nevada. Like these are schools that overall. Now I do see several more red than blue, I would think, states on here. There are a couple of the swing states that are on here as well, but seemingly both sides are seeing this as a significant problem, and significant enough to say, you know what, we're just done with them. We're getting rid of them.
Yeah. It's hard to. Now, granted, I understand how it can be a partisan issue, because, with what one party wants to do, the other one wants to do the opposite. But,
sure,
research is research. And, time has definitely let us know that the existence of cell phones in school has never once pushed students further. If anything, it has stalled it out or regressed. So. Yeah.
On the whole, absolutely. So here's the second section. These are partial restrictions, localized policy. So these states encourage districts to set rules, limit use during class time, or fund restrictive tools. The restrictive tools we're talking about here would be those bags, or some kind of blocker, somewhere where the tool is it's a third-party purchase, which makes it more difficult for students, if not impossible for a student, to use their phone in a certain set of time. That would be California, Arizona, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Washington, Oregon, Michigan, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, Maine, Vermont, and Alaska. I see Vermont to where they're twice, so there's might be some AI issue here with some crossover. So I would say this does seem to be a more blue than red list, but there's definitely red on there as well. So some are piloting phone-free classrooms, other are allocating funds for lockable pouches. And this is again from Ballotpedia and Axios. Our notes also would make statements here that Mississippi and Wyoming seem to have legislation pending, so not quite as black and white as the other ones. When I think of, would it be easier to implement a total ban or a partial ban? Well, of course, it's going to be easier to implement a total ban. But when I see these localized policies or these like part-time policies, another issue I have with that is, besides tasking my faculty and staff with a more nuanced, okay, they can have it here, they can't have it here. And her class went over the bell by 5 minutes, so like he was in this gray area, or he forgot it was in his pocket because he's allowed to have it for that class. I have less of, I don't want to task my enforcers with that, really. I really don't care to do that. So it's easier and cleaner just to be done with them. But also, if school was solely about ABCDs, if the walking time between classrooms, if lunchtime, if the extracurriculars time, if all of that was unnecessary, okay, if social development meant nothing, all right, I see it there, but social development does mean something. I say this tongue firmly planted all up in my cheek. It does mean something. And so for these institutions to block it but not totally block it, I say congratulations on the start. I think there's further for you to go. I'll go back to that first episode of students talking about themselves and saying, my shoulder partner, I am forced now without a cell phone to talk to them more, rely on them more for different things, even in class and outside of class. That's what we want. That's what we should be wanting more often than not anyway, especially at a Christian school. We're trying to teach students how to effectively speak to others, develop relationships to ultimately bring the gospel to them. Yeah. I said a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, there's two thoughts I had with the partial ban. One is, if I understand it correctly, now granted, it's giving the different school districts the ability to kind of choose their level of banness. Mm-hmm. But more or less, I think it even is still supporting the total ban. It's just giving those moments, like I was even saying, where the teachers might say, hey, I want them to be able to use their phones. They're empowering the teachers to be able to just grant the access as needed. But understand the incredible amount of responsibility and pressure it puts on the teachers, because, I unlock this, for my student. That means I also have to have the responsibility of making sure it gets locked back up. Mm-hmm. And that, that takes time. But I also, another thought that went to a school that was allowing their students to keep their phones in their locker. But over and over again, teachers were getting utterly frustrated with kids being late to class because they're rushing to their lockers to open up their phones, get into what they're trying to get into. And inevitably that takes their time and they're not, preparing for the next class. And so I know that was a major headache on the faculty with, we're trying to let them have responsibility and we're trying to teach them, and you're not accomplishing anything by doing that. So I think it is definitely heading down the road of total ban. And I don't know if it's to not have revolutions of students that just can't live without their phones. And if you just completely take it away, then, parents will be upset. But I think, like everything else that we talk about on this podcast, missionally, what are we trying to accomplish? And if you're communicating that clearly, I know of a school that went from their students having their phones with them practically all day to not having them at all. And yet, the communication that happened before the shift was so clear and giving here's why we're doing this. And, mm-hmm. and if you may have been afraid that there's going to be an uprising, everybody was, hey, that makes sense. We appreciate that the school cares to make that change. So, it definitely went over well in that situation anyway.
As far as where the pushback is coming from, if you do some reading on this, it's pretty clear the theme is pushback comes from the parents.
Yeah.
So there are parents who want to access their students more, and I will say that's where my pushback came from too, besides faculty members that wanted to have the phones there for a specific reason. Largely, the other pushback came from a couple of parents who just want to be able to contact their kid. And we always looked at that as undermining the office, undermining the relationship which we want to have for safety's sake. It was highly obnoxious when students wound up showing up at the office with a book bag and then a parent showed up and we say, why are you both here? And there was times when a mom would show up and say, oh, well, so-and-so called me. And then we look over the student and the student's like giving their mom the eyes because the student should not have said, mom should not have said, I got a phone call. She should have said, oh, I heard we knew, some other lie, but
yeah. And, a lot of times it's played off as just they're being oblivious, but they know what's going on. And here's the other thing, like you say, like bring the book back to the office. Like, would the office be so annoyed and upset if that parent called and said, hey, can you have my child bring their book back to the office? Absolutely not. It seems ridiculous. It's unnecessary. Now, I have had a conversation with parents where they're saying, I want to be able to communicate with them if a situation comes up, or I want to be able to know where they're at, tracking their phone. Like, ooh, whoop-de-doo, our campus is this small, so you're going to see that pinger in the same spot no matter where they are on campus. So, that, but again, where's the trust? We're making safety and security a major issue in our schools, and this is a part of that. And if anything, by them having this phone is a breach to that security and safety. So, of course, everybody is the exception to the rule. My child would never, fill in the blank. Like, they are human, and that's a huge conversation I have with my parents when they're coming to our school for the first time. Is we have to understand we are all human. The kids are human. You as parents are human. We as teachers and administration are human. Yes, we'll make mistakes. Yes, we'll make foolish decisions, but we have to work together. And as soon as you undo one of those, rules or restrictions, then the whole thing comes apart. So, yeah.
I love it. Detailed timeline of cell phone ban policies would simply note to you what was already read at the beginning, that Florida in May 23 prohibited phones during school instruction time. And then what we see is several in 24, so maybe 4 or 5 in 24, and the rest have literally been since April of this year and extending out into what we expected, like when legislation comes back up in the fall in a couple of places. But May, June, May, June, July, May, July. There's a bunch of states that have pushed some sort of guidance across desks this year, and so we're living in it. We're seeing it now. Just as an alternative, there's always going to be the schools that are on the edge of whatever it happens to be, the bleeding edge of technology, the cutting edge of what the latest innovation, whatever it is in education, the latest trend. There are schools that are promoting themselves as screen-free, completely screen-free. Phones, computers, you don't walk down the hallway and see a TV. And really, I'm very attracted to that. Even as much as technology is a demanded in the accreditation we just walked through, there's an expectation that even with library research or whatnot, there will be some matter of technological growth, understanding. And yeah, there's an expectation there that there's some interaction with it. And it would be interesting to see a school that writes in its mission, we're going screen-free, period. They have plenty of screens. We don't really believe we have to teach them how to type or have to teach them how to
sticks and stone, right?
Etching on granite, whatever it happens to be. Like internet research, somebody else can teach them. Typing seems to be a rather simplistic skill that could be learned and is readily learned in schools nationwide, worldwide. So it would be interesting to see where somebody walls up on that. But screen-free schools, maybe we're on our path back to a students do not see a screen during their day. I don't think we'll get there.
I don't know. It like everything, how is it being reviewed? And I think that's ultimately where we have to come back. If we're just using it haphazardly, then yeah, it doesn't really.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to make the impact that you potentially are thinking of it. It will. I know I was reading an article about just turning all the screens off and having your students listen as you tell them something to just simply write down. That's becoming a lost skill. And I think with everything, there's going to be an appropriate balance, and we're going to find that balance. We're going to strike whatever that balance is. But yeah, I agree. Along with these cell phone bans, I think we're going to see an increased move towards even the one-to-one computers. Students don't need to have computers at all. And then, even maybe teachers like presenting PowerPoints, needs to be limited or something to that effect. No videos, all these kind of things. Yeah, I think there will be, for the next several years, a growth in stances on screen technology.
The lecture gets abused. The lecture gets criticized. Memorization is criticized as a low-level Bloom's taxonomy skill. You wonder if that taxonomy is going to be flipped on its head soon. Or you wonder, maybe not the taxonomy
Well, I mean,
itself,
even
but you
phonics,
wonder
right?
if
Phonics for a long time was like that. That's not teaching them anything, but it's making a comeback.
Coming back.
Yeah.
The pendulum has swung. So we'll see. All right. Well, that's enough about cell phones for now. We knew where we were. It's been interesting to see the places around us, what's been changing, and it'll be interesting to see how we change in the future. Hey, who is our Christian administrator spotlight today?
We are spotlighting Mr. Mark Hanson, administrator at Heritage Christian School in Carlstadt, Minnesota.
I recently spoke with the wonderful lady who answered the phone at the office there, and hardcore Minnesota accent, like straight up in the straight up motherland stuff. Just make shows about the accent sort of thing in a wonderful way and very kind. Oh, so kind. She let me know that I see, and again, we had somewhere we picked up information like you thought he was a pastor, that they were a church school and all kinds of things. She said no, they're a standalone school. And she was skeptical of the call, because everybody is when I call and just say, hey, I'm a podcast host, and I had to figure out how much to say and how much not to say, because some of it's believable, some of it's like, I'll send you a free gift card. I mean, you don't have to do anything. But she came around to it, checked us out while I was on the call with her, and realized that I wasn't making it up. So wonderful to speak with her. Wonderful to hear the sweet Minnesota accent.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, Carlstadt, Minnesota is closer to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, than it is to St. Paul, Minnesota. Like, it's up there.
Man, no thank you. Just no thank you. I have friends right now at camp up there at the American side of Canada, basically. Mid-July, they had checked the weather to make sure they didn't have to bring their coats with them. I was like, no thank you. No, that's no thank you. All right. I'll pray for you there, Mr. Hanson, and we will move along with the time. Father in heaven, you are so good to us. You're so good to us to see, to allow us to review in social history times like this, where we see the ebbs, we see the flows, we see the tools that you've given us. Man has created through your ingenuity to come and to go. And wherever Mr. Hanson's school happens to be here, wherever Mr. Hanson happens to be with his determination of technology, give him grace, give him support, as you promised to those that love and follow after you. Might he have all that he needs, faculty and staff wise, but also resource wise, to make his school as strong as he possibly can there in Carlstadt. So, Father, we love you. We thank you for your son who gives us our hope in heaven. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Matt, I won't call you up. I'm going to put my phone away. I'm going to go do some drywall hanging.
Okay.
I'll text. I'll text you. You know, I always text you. All right, everybody. Thanks for going with us today.
Before you go, please be sure to hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, on Spotify, be sure to tap the star icon near the top and select the number of stars you'd like to give us. We'd be so grateful for 5. On Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the ratings and review section and then tap write a review to share your thoughts of the podcast. Thank you.